Path of Exile's new enormous patch brings a lot of things to test. One of the new items added is Scouring Flame. This is in the same family as Searing Flame, and you can only use one at a time. So the question arises, well, which is better? We'll try to test this in game by seeing how long it takes to do a certain amount of damage. And whichever support has a lower frame count should be the stronger one. But before we start, let's get a baseline control. Control will help us compare gains. We'll run it several times and get an average. Oh! Big stun.
I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew. I'm gonna come at you like a spider monkey.
Like a spider monkey!
My lab assistant today doesn't have any extra damage mods that should skew the results, but when it comes to stunning, he packs a wallop. And with every bite, he does take a small chunk out of the boss's health bar. This isn't typical. In late game Infernal Legion, you usually don't see an enemy's health bar move at all from attacks. This test probably would have been more accurate if he had no real hit damage to speak of. So that'll be something to keep in mind when we come to our conclusions. Searing Flame makes your ignite much larger, but at the cost of a smaller hit. This is just about always worth it for us, because as I say, hit damage isn't really a factor. Well, to be more clear, it is a factor. The size of your hit translates to the size of your ignite, which is then scaled by your magnitude. So by lowering the size of our hit, we're lowering the size of our ignite as well. We're just scaling the magnitude so much that it's worth it. Scouring Flame, on the other hand, has no downside to hits, but it only gives us half as much of a bonus. I've been running both this league, and they seem essentially the same to me. Since I can't tell which is stronger and which I should use, I find myself wasting time down here in the lab. But at least at the end we should know. Like and subscribe if you enjoy knowing things. We have just about enough baseline here to measure all the supports against if we want. Let's move ahead and start testing Scouring Flame out. This is a new Scouring support gem, and it interacts with the ward mechanic. For most skills that you would use, this would add a ward cost, which is a downside that balances out Searing Flame's hit cost. But when placed in Infernal Legion as a passive, it's completely free. Also note the cool blue flames. They're not literally cool, but you know what I mean. Alright, wow, that was 5 runs already. It went by pretty quick. We'll average those times out. Let's see how Searing Flame compares. Searing Flame is good old reliable, and in my testing has always been a pretty significant damage boost to Infernal Legion, and usually has a slot among my supports. There were runs here and there where our little buddy got a shock off, and I deleted those to make sure that the averages weren't skewed. And there were 1 or 2 other times where he was wandering around the arena and not actually doing damage. I threw those times out too. What can I say? You get what you pay for, and he has a very low spirit cost. Looks like we're about to start our 5th and final Searing Flame run. That went by just about as quick as Scouring. While we're here, let's take a little detour and do some other testing. The Blackflame ring was reworked in this patch, and this rework came with a very interesting modifier for us. Withered you inflict also increases fire damage taken. This means that if we put a Wither debuff on an enemy, we can increase the amount of fire damage he takes. And I know a pretty good source of fire damage. In this specific case, our maximum Wither is 70%, which would be similar to having a 70% shock on an enemy. In this context of slowly applying withers in our presence, it takes a while for us to ramp up to the 70, and we don't stay at the cap very long before he hits our damage threshold. basically means this is not a very fair test, and is a worst case scenario for Blackflame. But nonetheless, let's see what we can learn. Searing Flame almost triples our damage, and Scouring Flame more than triples our damage, but the two are very close, and our assistant hitting so hard might have skewed these results. As for Blackflame, even in these difficult circumstances for it, it added about as much damage as the other supports. If you can get Wither stacks out quicker, or you're in a longer fight, this would only get more powerful. So there you go. Blackflame is very cool, and until we do more testing, it seems like Scouring Flame is the superior option. We have plenty of more mechanics and items to test soon, so hang on tight.